The rain pounded against the windows like angry fists. Inside the mansion, everything sparkled. The floors shined like mirrors, the golden lights twinkled like tiny stars, and the air smelled like expensive flowers. But outside the back door, a small girl stood in the darkness, soaking wet. Her name was Maya, and she was only 9 years old. Her clothes stuck to her skin, her shoes squished with water. In her hands, she clutched a metal bucket, so tightly her knuckles hurt. The bucket was supposed to be for cleaning, but tonight it felt like the only thing keeping her from floating away. She knocked on the massive door. Once, twice, 3 times. Nobody came. Maya's heart hammered in her chest. She knew she wasn't supposed to use this door. This door was for important people, rich people, not for the daughter of a cleaning lady. But she had no choice. Not anymore. Not after this morning. She knocked again, harder this time. Her hand hurt, but she didn't stop. Finally, the door swung open. A tall man stood there, dressed in a perfectly ironed suit that probably cost more than a car. His face looked confused and a little bit annoyed. This was Mr. Harrison, the owner of the mansion. The millionaire. The man her mother had cleaned for every single day for 5 years. "What are you doing here?" he asked, looking down at her. "Where's your mother? Why aren't you using the staff entrance?" Maya's throat felt tight, like someone was squeezing it. The words she needed to say felt too big, too heavy, too real. "My mom died this morning," she whispered. "I have nowhere to go." The rain seemed louder in the silence that followed. Mr. Harrison's face changed. The annoyed look melted away like ice cream in the sun. His eyes went wide. His mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. "What?" he finally said. "What did you just say?" "My mom," Maya repeated, her voice shaking now.
"She died.
"This morning. In the hospital." The nurses said her heart just stopped. "And now I can't go back to our apartment because the landlord said we are behind on rent. And I don't have anyone else. No dad. No grandma. No aunts or uncles. Just nobody." Tears mixed with rainwater on her face. She hadn't meant to cry. She'd promised herself she'd be strong. But standing there, saying the words out loud, made it all real in a way it hadn't been before. Mr. Harrison stared at her for a long moment. Then he stepped aside. "Come in," he said quietly. "You're soaking wet." Maya walked inside, her shoes leaving wet footprints on the beautiful floor. She felt bad about it, but she was too tired to care very much. The bucket dangled from her fingers. Mr. Harrison closed the door and looked at her closely, like he was really seeing her for the first time. "Where did you sleep last night?" Maya looked down at her feet. "The laundry room. In the basement. There's a pile of clean towels back there. They're soft." His face did something strange. His jaw got tight and his eyes got a little bit shiny, like maybe he wanted to cry too but was holding it back. "The laundry room," he repeated slowly. "You're 9 years old, and you slept in my laundry room." "I didn't want to bother anyone," Maya said quickly. "And I know the rules. Staff kids aren't supposed to be in the main house unless they're helping their parents work. But Mom isn't here anymore, so I thought maybe I could work instead. I can clean. Mom taught me how to do everything. I can dust and vacuum and fold laundry and—" "Stop," Mr. Harrison said, holding up his hand. His voice wasn't mean, just firm. "You're a child. You shouldn't be worrying about any of this." "But I have to." Maya's voice came out louder than she meant it to. "If I don't work, I can't stay. And if I can't stay, I have to go to one of those places where they put kids who don't have parents. I saw them on TV. Big rooms with lots of beds and kids who cry at night and—" "That's not going to happen," Mr. Harrison interrupted. He said it with such certainty that Maya stopped talking and just looked at him. "It's not," she whispered.
"No."
He ran his hand through his hair, looking like he was thinking very hard. "Listen to me, Maya. Your mother worked for me for 5 years. She was one of the best people on my staff. Reliable. Honest.
Kind.
And I'm not going to let her daughter end up on the streets or in some facility because I didn't do the right thing." He walked over to a small table near the door and opened a drawer. He pulled out a set of keys, shiny silver keys on a blue keychain. "These are the keys to the guest suite on the 3rd floor," he said, holding them out to her. "It has a bedroom, a bathroom, and a little sitting area. You'll stay there." Maya stared at the keys like they were made of gold. "Really? Really," he said. "And tomorrow morning, you'll have breakfast in the kitchen with the rest of the staff. Mrs. Chun, she's the head housekeeper, will make sure you get 3 meals a day. You'll go to school, do your homework, and act like a normal 9-year-old kid. That's the deal." But Maya's fingers touched the keys carefully, afraid they might disappear. "What about work? I have to earn my place here, or—" "You're a child," Mr. Harrison said again, more gently this time. "Your only job is to grow up healthy and safe. Do you understand me?" Maya wanted to argue. She wanted to tell him that she couldn't just take things without giving something back. Her mom had always said, "We work for what we get, baby girl. That's how we keep our dignity." But she was so tired. And the keys felt warm in her hand. And for the first time since this morning, since the nurse had pulled her aside in the hospital hallway and said those terrible words, she felt like maybe, just maybe, everything might be okay. "Thank you," she whispered, and the words felt too small for what she really meant. Mr. Harrison nodded. Then he did something surprising. He reached out and gently took the bucket from her other hand. "You won't be needing this anymore," he said softly. "Not tonight, anyway." He showed her to an elevator, an actual elevator inside the house, and they rode up to the 3rd floor in silence. When the doors opened, he led her down a hallway with thick carpet that felt like walking on clouds. The guest suite was the most beautiful room Maya had ever seen. The bed was huge, with fluffy white pillows and a blanket that looked like it had been made by angels. There were actual paintings on the walls, not posters, but real paintings with gold frames. The bathroom had a bathtub big enough to swim in. "Get some sleep," Mr. Harrison said from the doorway. "We'll figure everything else out tomorrow." Maya stood in the middle of the room, still dripping, still holding the keys, so tight they left marks on her palm. "Mr. Harrison?" she called as he started to leave. He turned back. "Yes. My mom always said you were a good man. She said you paid fair and treated people with respect." She was right. Something flickered across his face, surprise, maybe, or sadness, or something else Maya couldn't name. "Your mother was a remarkable woman," he said quietly. "Get some rest, Maya." After he left, Maya stood there for a long time, looking at the bed. Part of her wanted to climb in and sleep for 100 years. But another part, a bigger part, felt like she didn't deserve something so nice. She thought about her mom, about the way she'd kissed Maya's forehead every single morning before work, about the way she'd hummed old songs while folding laundry, about the way she'd always kept going, no matter how tired she was. "I'll make you proud, Mama," Maya whispered into the empty room. "I promise." Then she finally let herself cry real, big, gulping sobs that shook her whole body. She cried for her mom. She cried for herself. She cried because she was scared and alone and didn't know what would happen next. But as she cried, she held onto those keys like they were a promise. A promise that maybe, even in the darkest night, somebody would open the door. Maya woke up the next morning and forgot where she was. For 3 wonderful seconds, she thought she was back in her old apartment, that her mom would call from the kitchen any minute now, saying, "Breakfast, baby girl," in that sing-song voice she always used. Then she opened her eyes and saw the golden chandelier hanging above her, the huge room, the fancy curtains, and she remembered everything. Her chest felt tight and achy, like someone had wrapped rubber bands around her heart. She got out of bed slowly. The clock on the wall said 6:30. Her mom had always woken up at 6 o'clock to start work. Maya decided she would too. She found clean clothes in the dresser. Someone must have put them there while she slept. Simple things: jeans, t-shirts, socks. They fit perfectly, which made Maya wonder how Mr. Harrison had known her size. Maybe her mom had told him once, in case of emergencies. In case of this emergency. Maya brushed her teeth, washed her face, and headed downstairs. She remembered where the kitchen was. She'd visited her mom there plenty of times before. But when she walked in, everyone got quiet. Mrs. Chun, the head housekeeper, stood by the stove, making eggs. Roberto, the gardener, sat at the table with coffee. Young Maria, who cleaned the upstairs bathrooms, froze with a piece of toast halfway to her mouth. They all stared at Maya like she was a ghost. Maya said quietly, "Good morning." Mrs. Chun recovered first. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes that crinkled at the corners. "Good morning, sweetheart. Come sit down. You must be hungry." Maya sat at the very end of the table, trying to take up as little space as possible. Mrs. Chun put a plate in front of her, scrambled eggs, toast with butter, and sliced strawberries. It looked delicious, but Maya's stomach felt too twisted to eat much. "Your mother was a good woman," Roberto said suddenly, his voice gruff. "Best worker I ever met. Never complained, not once." "She talked about you all the time," Maria added, her voice soft. "Said you were smart as a whip. That you'd do great things someday." Maya's eyes burned with tears, but she blinked them back. "Thank you," she whispered. After breakfast, the whispers started. Maya heard them everywhere she went. When she walked down the hallway, two maids stopped talking and watched her pass. When she sat in the library reading a book her mom had given her last Christmas, the butler walked by twice, glancing at her with curious eyes. "Did you hear?" one voice said from around a corner. Harrison gave her the guest suite. "The guest suite? That's for millionaires and fancy visitors, not for." "Sho," another voice hissed. "She might hear you." Maya's face burned hot. She knew what they weren't saying. Not for people like us. Not for the daughter of a cleaning lady. Not for a black girl with no family and no money. She wanted to run back to the guest suite and hide under those fancy covers. But her mom's voice echoed in her head. "Hold your head up, Maya. We might not have money, but we've got something better. We've got pride, and we've got heart." So Maya decided to prove she deserved to be here. She started cleaning. Not because anyone asked her to. Not because Mr. Harrison said she had to. But because it felt wrong to just sit around while everyone else worked. Her mom had taught her how to dust without leaving streaks, how to fold towels into perfect rectangles, how to make a bed so tight you could bounce a quarter off it. Maya did all of those things. She dusted the library shelves. She organized the books by color, then by author. She folded the blankets in the TV room. She even swept the grand staircase, starting at the top and working her way down, just like her mom had shown her. "What are you doing?" Maya jumped and almost dropped her dustpan. Mr. Harrison stood at the bottom of the stairs, looking up at her with a confused expression. I'm cleaning," Maya said, feeling her face get hot again. "I know you said I didn't have to, but I wanted to help. I can't just sit around doing nothing. That's not how my mom raised me." Mr. Harrison climbed a few steps until he was closer to her. "Maya, you're supposed to be resting. Reading. Being a kid." "I don't know how to do that anymore," Maya said, and the words came out smaller than she meant them to. "Every time I sit still, I think about everything. About her. And it hurts too much. But when I'm working, when I'm moving, it hurts a little bit less." Mr. Harrison's face did that thing again where it got soft and sad at the same time. He sat down right there on the stairs, which seemed like a weird thing for a millionaire to do in his own fancy house. "I understand," he said quietly. "After my wife died, I worked 80-hour weeks. Threw myself into business meetings and charity events, and anything that kept me from thinking about the empty house. It took me 2 years to realize I was running from grief instead of feeling it." Maya sat down too, 2 steps above him. "Your wife died 7 years ago. Cancer." He looked at his hands. "We never had children. She wanted them, but it never happened. And then she was gone, and this big house felt like a museum. Beautiful and cold and empty." They sat there quietly for a moment. Maya had never thought about Mr. Harrison being lonely. He always seemed so busy, so important, so in control. "You don't have to work," Mr. Harrison said finally. "But if it helps you feel better, you can help Mrs. Chun in the kitchen after school. Light things, setting tables, arranging flowers, things like that. Would that be okay?" Maya nodded, relief flooding through her.
"Yes.
Thank you. Over the next few weeks, Maya fell into a routine. School during the day. Mr. Harrison had enrolled her in a good school nearby and arranged for a driver to take her. Homework in the library after school. Helping Mrs. Chan in the kitchen before dinner. Reading in her room at night. The whispers from the staff slowly faded. They started saying good morning when she passed. Roberto taught her the names of all the flowers in the garden. Maria showed her how to make beds the fancy way, with perfect hospital corners. But it was the quiet moments with Mr. Harrison that mattered most. He started finding excuses to check on her. He'd stop by the library and ask about her book. He'd peek into the kitchen while she helped Mrs. Chun and compliment her flower arrangements. Once, he sat with her during dinner, just the two of them at the huge dining table, and they talked about everything and nothing. Maya learned that he loved old movies but hated scary ones. That he'd grown up poor and built his fortune from nothing. That he missed his wife every single day but had learned to carry the sadness with him instead of letting it bury him. Then came the winter storm. It started snowing on a Tuesday afternoon. Big, fat flakes that covered everything in white. By evening, the power had flickered twice. By nighttime, the wind howled like a wild animal. Maya couldn't sleep. The storm reminded her too much of the night she'd knocked on the back door, soaking wet and terrified. She put on her slippers and robe and wandered downstairs. The kitchen was dark except for one light. And sitting at the table, looking out the window at the snow, was Mr. Harrison. "Can't sleep either?" he asked without turning around. "The storm's loud," Maya said. "It is." He gestured to the seat next to him. "Want some company?" Maya sat down. They watched the snow together in comfortable silence. Then Maya remembered something her mom used to do during storms. She got up, heated milk on the stove, and made 2 mugs of hot cocoa. She added extra marshmallows to both. Her mom had always said marshmallows made everything better. She set 1 mug in front of Mr. Harrison. "Your mom used to make this for me," he said, looking at the cocoa with surprise. "Late at night when I worked too long. She'd bring it to my office and tell me to go to bed." "She said you were stubborn," Maya said with a small smile. "That someone had to look after you, since you wouldn't look after yourself." Mr. Harrison laughed, a real laugh that made his whole face light up. She was right. They sipped their cocoa. Outside, the storm raged on. But inside, in the warm kitchen, Maya felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Safe. "Thank you," Mr. Harrison said softly. "For the cocoa. For being here." Maya looked at him, surprised. "I should be thanking you. You saved me." "Maybe," he said. "Or maybe you saved me. This house has felt like a museum for 7 years. But lately, with you here, it feels like a home again." Maya's throat got tight with emotion. "Really? Really?" He reached over and gently squeezed her hand. "You belong here, Maya. Not as a worker, not as a guest, but as family. Do you understand?" Maya nodded, not trusting her voice. The word family echoed in her head like a beautiful song. They finished their cocoa and watched the snow fall until the storm finally calmed. And when Maya went back to bed that night, she slept better than she had in weeks. Because for the first time since her mother died, she wasn't alone. Spring came to the mansion like a gentle whisper. The snow melted away, leaving behind green grass and colorful flowers. Roberto planted tulips and roses that made the whole garden look like something from a fairy tale. The windows stayed open, letting in fresh air and bird songs. And Maya was different too. She smiled more now. Real smiles that reached her eyes. She laughed at Mrs. Chen's jokes in the kitchen. She helped Maria with the laundry while humming the same old songs her mom used to hum. She even beat Mr. Harrison at chess 3 times in a row, which made him pretend to be grumpy, but she could tell he was proud. The mansion didn't feel cold anymore. It felt warm.
Alive.
Like a heart that had stopped beating for a long time had suddenly remembered how. One Saturday morning, Mr. Harrison called Maya into his office. This was the room where he did all his important business stuff. Big desk, fancy computer, walls covered with certificates and awards. Maya had only been inside twice before. "Sit down," he said, but his voice was kind, not serious. Maya sat in the big leather chair across from his desk. Her feet didn't quite touch the ground. Mr. Harrison folded his hands and looked at her carefully. How would you feel about going to a party with me? Maya blinked. A party? A charity gala, he explained. It's a fancy event where rich people get dressed up, eat expensive food, and donate money to help children who need homes. I go every year. But this year, I'd like you to come with me. Maya's stomach did a little flip. Me? But I'm just a kid. Won't that be weird? You're not just a kid, Mr. Harrison said firmly. You're part of my family now, and I want people to know that. The word family still made Maya's heart feel too big for her chest. Okay, she said quietly. I'll go. The next week was a blur of activity. Mrs. Chin took Maya shopping for a dress, a beautiful white one with little pearls on the collar. It was the prettiest thing Maya had ever worn. Maria helped her practice walking in fancy shoes without tripping. Even Roberto gave her advice. Just be yourself, Mija. That's all you need to be. The night of the gala arrived faster than Maya expected. She stood in front of the mirror in her room, hardly recognizing herself. The white dress made her skin glow. Her hair was styled in neat braids with white ribbons. She looked important.
Special.
You look just like your mother, Mrs. Chin said from the doorway, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. She would be so proud of you, sweetheart. Maya's eyes got watery too, but she blinked the tears back. Thank you, Mrs. Chun, for everything. The gala was held at the fanciest hotel Maya had ever seen. The ceiling was painted with gold angels. Crystal chandeliers hung everywhere, throwing sparkles of light across the marble floors. Women wore dresses that probably cost more than cars. Men wore tuxedos with bow ties, so perfect they looked painted on. Maya held Mr. Harrison's hand tightly as they walked inside. Almost immediately, the whispers started. Who is that child? Is that Harrison's daughter? I didn't know he had family. Look at her dress. It's beautiful. But who is she? Maya wanted to disappear. She wanted to run back to the car and hide. But Mr. Harrison squeezed her hand gently and leaned down to whisper. Remember what Roberto said. Just be yourself. They walked through the crowd together. Mr. Harrison introduced Maya to person after person, judges, business owners, other millionaires. Some people smiled warmly. Others looked confused. A few looked at Maya like she didn't belong there. One woman in a sparkly blue dress actually said it out loud. Harrison, darling, she said in a voice like honey mixed with poison. Who is this child? Surely you're not trying to play house with some random girl? The room got very, very quiet. Maya felt her face burn hot. Her throat closed up. She wanted to say something brave, something strong, but the words wouldn't come. Then Mr. Harrison did something amazing. He put his hand on Maya's shoulder, not pushing her back, but pulling her forward, closer to him. This is Maya, he said, and his voice was calm but firm. Her mother worked for me for 5 years. She was one of the best people I've ever known. When she passed away, Maya had nowhere to go. So I gave her a home. And now she's part of my family. He looked down at Maya with such warmth that her eyes got blurry with tears. Family isn't just about blood, he continued, speaking to the whole crowd now. It's about showing up. It's about caring. It's about opening your door when someone needs shelter. Maya has more courage, more heart, and more dignity than most adults I know. I'm honored to have her in my life. The woman in the blue dress looked embarrassed. She mumbled something and walked away quickly. But other people stepped forward. They shook Maya's hand. They asked her questions about school, about books, about her favorite things. They treated her like she mattered. One old man with kind eyes knelt down to her level. Your mother raised you right, he said softly. I can see it in the way you carry yourself. Hold on to that. As the night went on, Maya relaxed. She ate fancy foods she couldn't pronounce. She watched people dance. She even bid on a painting in the auction. Mr. Harrison let her raise the paddle, and they won a beautiful picture of a sunrise. Near the end of the evening, the organizer asked Mr. Harrison to give a speech about why charity mattered. He stood at the microphone, looking out at the crowd. Then he gestured for Maya to join him. She climbed the stairs to the stage on wobbly legs. Her heart pounded so hard she thought everyone could hear it. "I used to think charity meant writing checks," Mr. Harrison said into the microphone. "Donating money to good causes and feeling like I'd done my part. But recently I learned something important." He looked down at Maya. "Real charity isn't just about money. It's about presence. It's about seeing someone who's hurting and choosing to help. It's about opening your home and your heart even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. This young lady taught me that." Maya's eyes went wide. She taught him? "Maya lost her mother," Mr. Harrison continued, his voice getting softer. "She showed up at my door with nothing but a bucket and the bravest heart I've ever seen. She could have given up. She could have let grief swallow her whole. But instead, she chose to keep going, to work hard, to smile even when it hurt. She reminded me what it means to be human." He put his hand on her shoulder again. "So, tonight, I'm not just asking you to donate to help children who need homes. I'm asking you to see them, really see them, because every child deserves what Maya has now: safety, love, and a place to belong." The room erupted in applause. It was so loud Maya's ears rang. But through the noise, she heard something else: people crying, happy crying, the good kind. After the speech, after the gala ended, after they rode home in the quiet car, Maya sat with Mr. Harrison in the library. It was late, almost midnight, but neither of them wanted the night to end. "Thank you," Maya said quietly.
For what you said.
For everything." "You don't need to thank me," Mr. Harrison said. "You saved me just as much as I saved you. This house was empty before you came. Now it's full of life." Maya leaned against his side, and he put his arm around her shoulders. They sat like that for a long time, a millionaire and a 9-year-old girl who'd found each other in the darkness. "Do you think my mom knows?" Maya whispered. "That I'm okay? That I found a home?" "I think she knows," Mr. Harrison said gently. "And I think she's proud of you. So very proud." Maya closed her eyes and imagined her mom smiling down at her. And for the first time since that terrible morning, she felt something other than sadness when she thought about her mother. She felt gratitude for the time they'd had together, for the lessons her mom had taught her, for the love that never went away, even when people did. Outside, the stars twinkled like tiny promises in the night sky. Inside, the mansion glowed with warmth and light. And somewhere between the grief and the healing, between the ending and the new beginning, two people built something beautiful. A family, not because they had to, not because of blood or obligation, but because they chose each other, because they showed up, because they opened the door. And sometimes that's what love is. Not perfect, not planned, just present. The end. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales about courage, kindness, and finding family in unexpected places. Your support helps us create more stories that remind us all of our shared humanity. Thank you for reading.